Hello. So today we're going to be going over dividing two fractions, and I'm also going to introduce two new vocabulary words to you. I actually talked about the top one yesterday, which is a reciprocal, and then they're also called multiplicative inverses. Okay, so a reciprocal is two fractions whose product is 1. So basically, if they have 1 over 8, okay, the reciprocal of this would be 8 over 1. Okay, so it's kind of like what we do in division when we flip that second number. Now, what they mean by two fractions whose product is 1 is if we actually multiplied these, because remember, product means multiply, we would get 8 over 8, which would be 1. Okay, so no matter what you do reciprocal-wise, it's going to equal 1. Okay, even if you had 2 over 6, and then you'd flip it to 6 over 2. If you actually multiply these out, it would be 12 over 12, which would also be 1. Okay, so this is called a reciprocal. So on your homework today, which you'll love this because it's super easy, is they're going to give you a couple fractions. And so let's say they give you 1/2, and they said, please name the reciprocal. All you'd have to do is write 2 over 1. Okay, pretty easy. Like number 1 is 4 over 7. So the reciprocal of this would be 7 over 4. Okay, very easy, and it's actually questions on your test like that, so super easy freebie. Okay, so let's get rid of go. Okay, so today they're going to be giving you some different fractions. So yesterday we had a lot of whole numbers, so you were putting the number over 1. Today you're doing a little bit different. Okay, so if we had 3/8 divided by 1/4. Okay, so here you're actually working with two fractions, but you're going to do the exact same thing you did yesterday. Okay, so we're going to take this number and we're going to need to find its reciprocal in order to solve our problem. So remember when I told you yesterday you're going to flip the second number and multiply? Okay, so we flip the second number and multiply. Okay, now here you can also do your trick. We don't have anything in common with the 3 and the 1, so here, nothing there. We do have a number in common here though. So because of that, we can reduce. So 4 goes into both of them, so 8 divided by 4 is 2, 4 divided by 4 is 1. All right, so your answer would be 3 over 2. Okay, and then you would have to find the mixed number. 2 goes into 3 once. You have 1 left over. Denominator stays the same. Okay, so that is pretty much it. So it just kind of complements yesterday's lesson. So remember, if you have a whole number, you always put it over 1. But here you're doing the exact same thing we did yesterday, except we are working with different numbers here. All right, so let's try a couple examples. We have 2/3 divided by 4/5. So 2/3 divided by 4/5. Okay, so again, we're going to take this number and find the reciprocal. All right, so we'll do 2/3. We flip that second number and multiply. Okay, so when I look at these two numbers here, again, you can multiply straight across and get 10 over 12 and then reduce it. But again, I like to work with smaller numbers, so I'm going to do the trick here. So 2 and 4 have 2 in common. So I'm going to do 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then when I multiply them out, I get 5 over 6. Okay, so if you didn't do the trick and you wanted to just multiply them out, you could get 10 over 12, and then you'd reduce the top and the bottom by 2, and you would still get 5, 6. Okay, so either or. Let's try a couple more. Oh, and then sometimes they throw in numbers that they give you multiple steps. So here on this one, they gave us an example, is 3 plus 2, 6. Divided by 4. Okay, so here, first thing you're going to do, if you remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally again, is going to be the parentheses. So we'd have 3 over 1 plus 2 over 6. And me personally, you know how I like to show all the steps, so I usually always even include that 4. So here, if we find the common denominator, we'd have 6. Okay, so we'd have 3 plus 2 divided by 4. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring this up here because I'm running out of room. So when I do these, 3 plus 2 is 5. And then denominator stays the same because we're with addition, okay? And then divided by 4 over 1. Now we can solve our problem, so we need to flip the second number and then multiply. Okay, so we have 1 4th. And then if we solve this, we would get 5 over 24. Okay, so this one is just giving you multiple steps. So it's just trying to see if you remember addition and subtraction. Let's see. And then I'm going to do a couple of the odd ones since I assigned you guys even. I'm going to look at a couple of the examples if you want to work them out with me on page 279. All right, so I'm going to look at, let's see, let's do number 15. So we have, and I'm on page 279. So we have 6 over 7 divided by 1/3. So again, here, we got to find the reciprocal of this number. So we have 6 over 7. Flip the second number, and you're going to multiply. Okay, now we don't have anything in common between these two, so we can't really reduce it. But 6 times 3 would be 18. And then we'd have 7. Okay, and then remember, you can find how much 7 goes into 18. Okay, if you don't have to do this either, if you can do it in your head by now, that's totally fine. So a whole number would be 2, and then we'd have our numerator, which would be 4, and then remember, denominator stays the same. Okay, so it would be 2 4/7. Okay, and then I'll do one more example, and then that way you guys can get started. I'll do number 17. So we have 5 6 divided by 2 over 11. Okay, so again, find the reciprocal. So we're going to do 5 6, flip the second number and multiply. Okay, so 5 times 11 is 55. 6 times 2 is 12. Then we'd see how many times 12 can go into 55, which is 4. So it would be 48, and I can show you over here too. Okay, so 12 goes into 55 4 times. It would be 48. Then 55 minus 48 would be 7. Okay, so that would be our numerator, and then denominator stays the same. That would stay 12. Okay, so that's it. So big thing here is make sure that you understand those vocabulary words. If they're asking for the reciprocal, they just want you to flip that number and show that you understand what that means. And then also just make sure that you're flipping that number when you're multiplying, and also make sure, still saw a little bit of this on homework, but if you have an improper fraction, make sure you make it into a mixed number, okay? Because this is technically improper, so we want it to be in the right form. All right, and that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me or Mrs. Barron, and yeah, see you later.